Here we are.
And then we were the zombies. Welcome back.
Anyway, you're saying an anecdote about Pizza Hut in an episode that may or may not come before this?
You can't do that, Snakey. You'll cause a time paradox!
But that's fine.
I was saying there was a jukebox at the Pizza Hut where I grew up that we used to eat at a lot, and I would always set it to play The Final Countdown by Europe as often and as frequently as possible.
And that's when the night went from good to great. Yeah, the only place I can think of, like, off the top of my head that had a jukebox was the Rocky Rococo's in Roseville. If you ever passed by it, it was a Famous Dave's. A sad day in history. There's plenty of places to get barbecue, but not enough places to get pizza like Rocky's. So in case, like, literally anybody was wondering, that's like mostly a Minnesota and Wisconsin thing. If you don't remember that, that's where I live. I don't think I've had Rockies in, like, well, since I moved here, really.
Is there even one in remotely reasonable driving distance of here?
20 minutes away at the mall.
Oh, yeah.
Which is too far. I mean, I like the pizza, but it's too far.
Kind of like Papa Murphy's.
Yep, too far.
All the other way on the fucking... They're all the way on the other fucking side of town.
East side of town.
I love me some Papa Murphy's, but it's not worth the drive.
More fade spray. It is.
Drop.
It is still the sterile room key.
The music stopped. We must be entering a cutscene.
Nope. Gorgeous furnishings, but it's all useless. For a second I read that as the blue sphere has been removed, and I was just like, well, go get them. So here's the question, how does Chris know that he could even go through that in the first place?
Metagaming.
I mean, maybe he could hear wind coming through it or something, I don't know, but...
Like that one scene in Temple of Doom?
Yeah, like that. Ugly dolls are in the cabinet. Although I suppose if that door was locked.
Creepy ass music box.
Could probably, but and even these ones have windows in them for some reason.
What was the point of going through there?
Well, there was no point to go in there at that immediate point, but...
An old electric microscope.
My memories of this point of the game are vague. Code Veronica report. After many long years of research, I finally identified the inheritance element that administers the intelligence of man. I even succeeded in manipulating the absolute value of intelligence artificially by recomposing the base alignment of the element. I learned it from a guy named Hideo Kojima. I then sampled the gene of our great ancestor, manipulated its element, and then implanted it in a surrogate mother. What I didn't expect was that twins, a boy and a girl, were born. The boy had higher intelligence than normal, but the girl was considered a genius. However, the girl had unmatched intelligence that easily allowed her to be classified as a genius, just like I just said. She was exactly what I had been looking for, the revival of our great ancestor. I already determined their names, the girl's name Alexia, and the boy's name Alfred. I'm certain that Alexia will elevate the name of the Ashford family to extreme glory. Alexander Ashford. Extreme glory.
So, basically, Alexia and Alfred are
Clones
of Veronica Ashford.
Alexia will elevate the family name to extreme glory. She'll kickflip Oli right into the laboratory and be like, "What is up, bitches and hoes? Time for some motherfucking science."
So, Alexia, it's like liquid and solid. Snake. Alexia is the quote-unquote good clone, and Alfred is the garbage clone.
Because that's definitely 100% how genetics work.
Yes. Have you ever read the novelization of Metal Gear Solid?
What was it called? The Count of Shadow Moses Island or whatever?
No, that was the thing in Metal Gear Solid 2.
No, that I haven't then.
And that read like bad fan fiction, by the way.
Well, I mean, it was written by somebody who wasn't actually there, so...
It was... No, I mean the whole thing in general was like bad fan fiction. But anyway,
like the twin snakes.
Yeah, kind of. It's like, seriously, Metal Gear Solid meets the Matrix. What the fuck? Anyway.
Twin Snakes was the, was the version that, Romanenko was telling.
Right. Anyway, the novelization of Metal Gear Solid, which, by the way, like the novelization of Alan Wake, had some changes. But anyway, it starts off with a scene of Dr. Clark talking to the government people that commissioned for the creation of Solid and Liquid. And they kind of hand-waved the whole, superior, inferior, blah, blah, blah thing, with just minor variations in their gene sequences. Like, this clone will have slightly more of Big Boss's dominant genes, and this one will have slightly more of his recessive genes. They were really trying to downplay that whole thing.
It still happened, we're just not really going to talk about it.
Yes.
To say nothing of that whole, I've found the gene that determines the intelligence of a human being thing.
Right.
Sounds completely and totally not legit. I mean, I could see this, but only in context of a video game would it make sense.
Basically.
Put that key back in your pocket. It would be interesting if that's how it worked, though. Intelligence mandated by genetics. It would suck, but it would be interesting.
Well, it is sort of mandated by genetics to an extent. Gesundheit. Another thing that Metal Gear Solid novelization changed, which struck me as one of the more sensical, but at the same time nonsensical changes. Just like a complete and utter deviation from the actual game. You know how in Metal Gear Solid, Snake gets his cigarettes by swallowing them, smuggling them out into his stomach,
And then vomiting them up in a bag.
and vomiting them up when he lands at Shadow Moses. Well, this novelization, Snake thinks about doing it, and then he's like, that's a fucking terrible idea.
It's just... Anybody tries to stop me just says I'm taking is with me.
There's a scene at which the first genome soldier he takes out was smoking a cigarette, and he reflects that he had thought about smuggling his cigarettes out in his stomach because of the shot that Naomi gave him, and he's like, that really would have fucking sucked, and there was no way I was putting myself through that. So he just steals this genome soldier's shitty cigarettes and smokes those throughout the book.
See, my change would have just been, he just takes them with him. He doesn't accept no for an answer.
And that would be a more Snake thing to do, I think.
I mean, well, maybe like post Metal Gear Solid 1 Snake, but...
Today on Radical Bromance, we discuss everything but the game we're playing.
And then the music died.
The day the music died. I don't know how that song goes.
I mean, someday, maybe someday Metal Gear will be played, but probably not.
I would not mind playing Metal Gear Solid, but there is no way in hell I am playing through the other games in that series.
They could, like, remake the original Metal Gear Solid and... Oh, not Metal Gear Solid. The original Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2. Not Snake's Revenge. Using the Fox engine, and I'd be okay with that.
As long as they had an editor. Jesus. Then again, I don't know what they're likely to do with the Metal Gear franchise at this point.
It's just kind of there.
It's just one of their cash cows that's kind of sitting in limbo because they fired the guy who made it
That was not a suspicious camera angle at all.
Not in the slightest.
But I mean, like, say what you want, but I actually enjoyed playing Metal Gear Survive. But I'm also not, like, severely attached to the Metal Gear franchise to the point where I'm gonna get upset about the game existing. That's a waste of time.
I don't really care that the game exists. I wish they would let Metal Gear go.
They should just make Metal Gear Rising 2.
I would be okay with that.
Herbs.
I like Metal Gear Rising because it's written by people that know how to write a story with serious tones without the story taking itself so seriously that it's just patently ridiculous.
It knows what it's about.
It knows that it's ridiculous, and it works with it. It owns its ridiculousness.
And it's like vaguely within continuity.
Yeah.
Fucking invincible. Just picking up herbs just because.
Just because, he says.
I mean, I don't really actually need them very much. I've killed basically everything in the game, so... Sans the final boss. On a related note, next time on Radical Bromance, the end of Code Veronica.